guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing two looks with a new palette from a new brand. So we got a lot of new happening right here. This is the first palette from One Size Beauty, which is a new brand launched at Sephora by Patrick Starr. So I'm very interested to see how this performs today. This is called the Patrick Starr Visionary palette, and it looks a little bit like this. I'll show you guys a close-up of the inside of the palette when we get started. There's a lot of neutrals in here, but there are some pops of color, so I feel like we can probably get some really fun, interesting looks out of this, but it also could be very versatile. We will see, so long as it performs well, you know? So the first look is this one that I'm wearing here on my face, and I've got another one to go after this. I will, as always, list all of the products that I use in the description. I'll timestamp everything in the description if you want to jump back to one of the looks and recreate it. If you are fairly new around here, you've found your way to my channel, and you think that maybe there's a chance that you want to hang out with me on a regular basis, go ahead and subscribe, because that would be fun and awesome, and I would like it, and I think you would like it too. And if you're not new around here, or even if you are and you feel like doing me a favor, go ahead and leave a like on this video because it is super helpful and I always appreciate it. You know, I always make this terrible mistake where I drink a giant coffee before I get started filming because I want to be like energetic and peppy for you guys and not like a low energy boring ass bitch. But then by the time I get to this part of filming, I have to pee so bad and then I rush through this, and I could just stop filming and then go pee, but that would be too easy. Too easy a solution for Nicole, you know? Also, I'm hungry. I have a lot of problems. And now there's a fly. God, I really cannot win right now. So you know what? I'm gonna cut my losses. Let's just get into it and start look number one with the first ever palette from One Size Beauty. So this is the outside packaging of the One Size Beauty palette. It's got a really interesting setup. It's kind of like offset on an angle this way, but also this way. So it's got like a little corner doohickey hanging out. Personally, I'm a big fan of this color combo. I think it's really cute. The typography is nice. So far, I like the packaging a lot. And this is what it looks like on the inside. We have mostly neutrals with some pops of color. There's a little splash of olive green in here. We have this bright blue and this more icy blue shimmer. I think we should be able to get some fun, interesting looks from this for sure. Patrick always kind of does a little bit more of a glam, and sometimes he has a pop of color, so I feel like this is appropriate for him as his first palette. I also love that there are little cartoons of Patrick pressed into some of the shadows. I think that's a really cute touch. So I'm gonna grab my BH number 6 brush, and I'm gonna start by going into the shade Suede Charm. I'm gonna put that through the crease area, try to work it up toward the brow a little bit. Ooh, we have pigmentation, folks, that's for sure. As usual, I'm using this over my Urban Decay Primer Potion in the color Eden, in case you're wondering what I'm testing this new formula out over. I'm gonna grab a clean blending brush and just blend the edge of that with that. On the blending brush that I'm using on the edge, I'm gonna grab a little bit of the color Mango, and I'm gonna use that to blend out the edge a little bit more. I just feel like maybe that'll soften it up a little bit, and why the hell not, you know? Ooh, I actually like that. I'm gonna grab my Sigma E36 brush, and I'm gonna go into the black shade in here, Turban Legend. This is the one that has Patrick's little head pressed into it, and I don't even want to ruin it. It's the cutest little pressing I've ever seen in my life. Picking up a little bit of that black on that tiny brush, I'm just gonna put it through the crease. I'm keeping it toward the outside half of the crease though, and then bringing it down on the outer corner. We're gonna see how this matte black performs, because matte black can be difficult sometimes, so I'll be impressed if it's real good. I'm gonna grab my MAC 221 brush and go into a little bit more of Suede Charm and use that to blend out the edge of the black. I'm just trying to avoid bringing the black too far because I'm really only trying to use it to deepen that area instead of like having it take over the whole look. I'm not gonna work too hard to blend it on this section here because I'm gonna put a deep shade right on that spot too and blend those together. So we'll just blend when I get that next color down. Something that I think is a really good tip that people don't generally mention because it's like so easy to overlook is if you have a hard time blending your eyeshadow, try using a lighter hand. Back in the day, I used to try to blend it like so hard, like I would try to just force my eyeshadow to blend, and now I find keeping your hand down toward the end of the brush handle and like holding it more like you would hold a paintbrush rather than like, you know, like really getting in there, forces you to use a light hand and kind of makes it like 1,000 times easier to blend your eyeshadow. So just a little note there in case you struggle. I'm gonna grab a Real Techniques shading brush, and I'm gonna go into the shade Blue Mondew, and I'm gonna use that on the outer half of the lid. Beautiful blue color. I was expecting it to be brighter on the lid, but it's definitely like very rich. Interesting. I like that very much. And then picking up a little bit more of that Black Turban Legend and just blending around that. The remainder of the lid that we have open here, I'm going to go into the shade Rebel Gray. This kind of has like a blue icy tone to it. Pick that up on a MAC 228S brush. This is a nice small flat brush. I'm just going to pack it onto that area. We'll determine once I start packing it on if I need to wet it or not. That shade seems pretty nice on its own and it's nice and pungent, so I'm gonna go in dry today and leave it at that. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that same shade on my ring finger and just tap it over the end of that matte blue to blend it. So I went ahead and concealed underneath my eyes and I put down some powder. I didn't put like a thick layer though, because you know what? Honestly, I haven't really seen too much fallout so far with this at all. I'm going to grab my Urban Decay pencil in the color Chaos and I'm going to run that through my waterline. I feel like this will really be nice with the other blues that we've got going on here. It's so like bright and fun and interesting and good. And then for the lower lash line, I'm going to take my BH number 7 brush and I'm going to go into the shade Taupe of my game. I'm going to use this to blend out underneath the eye because it's a little bit cooler and I'm going to lean a little bit more into the blue, so I feel like the cooler tone for a neutral will be more appropriate to blend out into. So I'm just going to sweep that underneath my lash line and bring it out toward the top, kind of making a little bit of a V, but not like a full-on wing shape. I'm going to take a pencil brush and I'm going to go into the shade Blue Mondew again, and I'm going to use that along the entire lower lash line, just keeping it a little bit closer to the waterline than I did with that taupe shade. Get in there and get after it, you know? I'm gonna grab that same MAC 228 brush again and go back into the shade Turban Legend. I'm like avoiding the pressing and going around the edges so I don't root it. And just use that along the outer third-ish of the lower lash line and use that to connect it right into the black that we used on the top and just make the whole thing make some fucking sense out there. I'm gonna grab my Luxie 111 Mini and I'm gonna go into the shade Rebel Gray again, but this time I'm going to wet it with a little bit of setting spray so that way it comes up a little bit more big pungent in this inner corner and just maybe brightens it up a little bit more. We're gonna see. We'll see. Will it work? I don't know. Nope. Kind of looks the same, but it'll get the job done anyway. I'm just gonna grab my Benefit roller eyeliner and just go right along the lashes, like super close to the lashes, and just make a little bit of a line right there. That way, when I put down some falsies, they have something to sit on top of, especially in the inner corner where that color is really light. Otherwise, sometimes it looks a little bit disjointed, you know? For lashes, I popped on my current usual lashes, which are the Aquamarine lashes from House of Lashes. And I said lashes so many times in that one sentence. For the lip, I'd like to keep it really simple. I'm going to use one of the BUXOM full-on lip polishes. These are some of my favorite glosses. This is the shade Claire. I'm just opening a new one, right meow. This one is also very shiny and glittery and pretty, and I think it'll be like glam enough to go with the rest of this look, while also keeping it simple enough that it still balances this pretty blue situation we've got going on here. For the second look, I think we're gonna go a little bit more over the top. For this one, I wanna keep it simple. And this is the first look. I'm back for look number 2 and I have good news. Wow, big brain over here, figured out how to get my new phone hooked up to my camera, so now I have like a little monitor again and I'm able to see everything better. It's gonna be so good. So for look number 2, I want to play more with the olive tones in this palette. And I also have one of the new liquid eye poppers that One Size released. So we're gonna use this olive green eye popper. I don't know, eye popper makes me think of when you were a kid and your one weird uncle used to put the little tiny thing of milk and like stab it and pretend his eye exploded. That's what I think of when I think of eye popper, which is not a great visual. I'm gonna take my BH number 7 and I'm gonna go into the shade Soft Serve to start. I'm gonna use that as the shade that I put through my crease. After filming the first look without a monitor, and then reviewing the footage as I edited the first look, because that's usually how I do it. I'll film one and then edit it and then come back and film again. That way it gives me some time in between where I can let my eyes rest so they're not getting watery from filming a bunch in a row, but also I get to see a different picture of how the makeup performed if I'm watching it back again, you know what I mean? And I can see it on camera, not just like firsthand in this bright lighting. And In this scenario, it actually is very helpful because I noticed when I was watching the footage back, and I didn't really see this so much in person, that the crease area where I used that black shade really seemed to be a little bit patchy. And even though I spent quite a lot of time blending those shades out, I did feel like they weren't the smoothest blend I've ever gotten. So the formula of this is maybe not 1000% my favorite. It's definitely very pigmented, but I don't know that it's the easiest to blend so far. But let's judge again after we get done with this look, you know? I'm gonna grab my MAC 221 brush and go into the shade Booked, and I'm gonna use that on the outer and the inner portion of the lid, and then bring the remainder of what's on that brush through the crease. I don't want it to be like too much of this shade in the crease, so whatever is left over on the brush should be enough. I can always dip back in if I have to. See, I can see here that what I saw in the last look is happening again, where it kind of skips over the skin a little bit. It was almost as if when I looked back on it, and I'm sure you guys maybe have noticed this too because you already watched that look when we get to this part, that it almost seemed like the shadows didn't want to settle into the texture of my skin. Just blending back over that with my BH number 6 again. Try to smooth out that crepey skin issue a little bit. I'm gonna pick up my BH number 7 brush and I'm gonna go into the shade of Matcha. This pressing on this one is so freaking cute too. I'm gonna take that shade and I'm gonna put it on the outer portion and inner portion of the lid, right pretty much over where we put down that brown, just kind of blending those together so that they kind of disperse out into the crease. And I'm picking up a little bit more of that shade on a Sigma E36 and just blending that through the crease area as well. But this time, because this is a little darker, I'm actually bringing that up a little bit higher so it sort of extends the shape of our lid a bit. I don't plan on like fully cutting a crease on this look, but we can still fake it till we make it a little. And again, I am able to blend this to a point where it looks okay if I pay close attention. But I am noticing that the shades tend to be a little bit skippy. And on a MAC 221 brush, I'm going to go into the shade Olive It, and I'm going to put that right in the center of the lid to add a little shimmer, make it pop. We're going to make it pop even more, but this is where we're going to start the pop. And I'm blending that right over the edge of that matte shade. That way it kind of blends itself without having to like mush it all together and muddy it up with adding more of a matte back in. So now that I have all these lovely greens down, I'm gonna pick up the One Size Eye Popper. This is the shade Continental. So I'm gonna take this liquid shadow. It has a lot of glitter in it. I played with it on the back of my hand already to see what I was dealing with. And I'm gonna put this in the center of my lid, right over where I put down that green. This is much more metallic than the green in the palette. Bring it up right through the center of what we put down in that blend and past my crease, just to get some glitter popping up in that direction. I think it'll make this look more interesting. I'm just tapping out that liquid shadow over the rest of those greens. I'm gonna grab my Sigma E36 again and just continue blending through the crease. That way these more difficult matte shadows have a chance to be as blended as possible, but also blend away any glitter that got from that into the crease, where it shouldn't necessarily be hanging around. I do think that I have quite a bit of glitter fallout from that though, if you guys can see it. I don't know how much is picking up on camera, but there is definitely some glitter underneath my eye from the eye popper. So during my adventures in blending, I wound up blending over the area where I brought that liquid shadow a little bit higher than the crease because I wasn't happy with the way that it was looking, but I am very happy with the way that the liquid shadow is glittering on the lid, so that's nice. I also added some concealer and powder under my eyes so that we could work on the lower lash line. And for the waterline, I think I'm gonna go with a rich, deep black to kind of like make this look a little bit more sultry and like glam and sexy. So I'm gonna grab my NABLA Cupid's Arrow in number 4, which is black, and I'm gonna run that through my waterline and also through my upper waterline or tight line, whichever you want to call it. I'm even gonna smudge a little bit of that through my lower lashes and then fast as the dickens blend it out because it will dry so fast. It doesn't need to be perfectly blended, you just gotta kind of smudge it while you can still smudge. I'm gonna grab my MAC 218 pencil brush and I'm gonna use that in the shade Matcha, and I'm gonna put Matcha right over where I put that black shade down on the lower lash line and just start blending that out and hooking it around to meet the top shape. I'm gonna drag Matcha a little bit lower than I brought that black, so that way it blends out into the actual green shade, and blend the edge of that with a clean brush. And on my Luxie 141 Mini, I'm going to go into the shade Title Holder, which is this light goldish shade, and I'm going to wet that and then put it on the inner corner of the eye as a little bit of a highlight. Ooh, that shade's actually really pretty. I like that a lot. All right, I finished with my skin and I added House of Lashes Siren Doubles. I am going to pair this look with a red lip. I feel very strongly that Patrick would approve of this decision, you know? Like, I feel like he would appreciate the level of glam that I'm taking this to in the middle of a Thursday afternoon. So I'm gonna use my favorite red liquid lipstick. This is Fenty Stunna Lip Paint in the color Uncensored, and I'm going to line it with a slightly darker red just to kind of deepen it up and maybe give it a little bit of a slight ombre effect. I'm gonna use the KPD Vegan Beauty Dunder Mifflin Fun Run Race for the Cure lip pencil in the color Misfit, and I'm going to blend that in a little bit and then fill it in with this. And this is the second look. All right, so after using this palette for 2 looks, I definitely have some thoughts and I definitely have some critiques on this palette. Now, before I even get into it, I know a lot of people get very upset when people are critical of their favorite person's new palette or their favorite person's collab or whatever. So I want to make it really, really clear before I even get into the criticisms of this palette that I like Patrick a lot. Not only do I like him as a creator, but I have had the chance to meet him in person. I'm sure he doesn't remember me because, like, in a room of a billion very, very influential people, I was absolutely nobody, but he, in spite of that, was really, really friendly and kind to me, and I enjoyed meeting him very much, and he was very pleasant, and I will always like him for that experience. So I have nothing against Patrick. I like him. I am rooting for him, but this palette is not my favorite. I have to just come out and say it. I feel like the pigmentation is there, the presentation is there. It's very Patrick in its theme. However, it is a little difficult to blend. I had to work to get these shadows to sit evenly on the texture of my skin. Now, granted, not everybody has texture like that on their lids. Like, everybody has some texture on their eyelids, obviously, but some people have more than others, and I have like a medium amount of like a crepey texture on my lids. But that being said, I don't really run into that issue all that often, so it is more to do with the shadows than with my lids themselves. The shimmers in here performed really, really beautifully, but they were just very simple shimmers. They're not like really, really metallic or anything. So combined with the deeper shades, they kind of still give a more subtle effect where I would have liked to see 1 or 2 of these be a little bit more of like a pop with like a bright metallic effect. That way you can like highlight the center of the lid or something, because I feel like this look especially really leaned heavily on the eye popper to make it have a little bit more something to it. But I would definitely continue to try their palettes in the future because hopefully they improve upon that as time goes on. Most brands usually do. The eye popper I thought was really pretty, and it seems to be sitting really nicely on my lid. I did get some glitter fallout with it, so I would use it before I did like my under eye concealer and stuff, but not like a really big deal, just a little. I didn't film this in today's video, but I actually have been using the One Size makeup removers for like a week or 2 now. Makeup wipes, I find them to be pretty good. I thought at first that they might be irritating my skin, but it actually turns out I think something else was irritating my skin and it was just a coincidence. So I've been continuing to use these. I brought these away with me for a weekend and I used them the whole weekend, and they are pretty damn good. I don't think they are quite as juicy as they say they are on the packaging, but they definitely get the job done, and they do a very good job of removing my waterproof mascara, which is huge for a makeup wipe. I don't use makeup wipes to remove my makeup on a daily basis, FYI, just usually if I'm away somewhere or if I'm like filming and I need to remove something quickly. Also have been trying the Go Off Dissolving Makeup Mist, which is basically like a spray-on version of a biphase makeup remover, and it works really well. It's a strange application process, but it is really good. So I'm going to continue using these as time goes on, and I'll like kind of update you guys maybe on Instagram stories or something like that. But I am liking the makeup remover products that they launched first. Overall, I think this is a pretty successful first launch. It's amazing that they are like on the front page of Sephora with their first launch. Patrick is a business genius. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you have tried any of the new products from One Size Beauty. I would love to know what your experience was, whether it was positive or negative, or you agree with me or disagree with me. I would just love to hear what your thoughts are, whether you've tried them or not. Go ahead and leave a like on this video if you don't mind taking a second, because it's helpful and I would really appreciate it. And if you're new around here, subscribe, because I would love to have you around for more videos. Go find me on Instagram. I'm at Miss Quinface over there, because I update things for this channel over there all the time, and also you can see a little bit behind the scenes and lip art and other fun stuff, and I would love to have you. That's all for today. Thank you so much for hanging out and chatting about makeup, trying this new brand, this new palette with me. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you in the next one.